In spring last year, I decided to invite my 10-year-old niece for a role-playing summer camp. I did that for two reasons. I did it because I usually have 1 week holiday with her every year, and I started getting pretty bored about spending time of going to TV and stuff like that every day for 7 days. So I thought about how can I take her to a holiday that would actually be a lot of fun for myself. The second, there was a lot of big things happening in her life at that point, and she really needed to get into a good environment where she could get supported and develop some social skills. So that was my purpose of bringing her there. I did not expect anything else than playing a lot of board games myself, feed off my niece, that would be fun, and for her to start laughing, and for me to go back to Copenhagen and find a couple of board game friends. Today, she is laughing in the middle of nowhere in Dublin. She is having a lot of street credit of having been on this summer camp. She is the only girl. She's awesomely cool. I think she's grown about 1 meter since that summer, and she actually colored her hair purple. So that's why I couldn't put a picture up of her here, because as I said, I don't have it where my purple hair shows. And it's not fair to use an old picture because I'm not the same anymore. So I promised I wouldn't put up a picture without the purple hair of her. Secondly, the never-ending story made a huge difference for me when I was in the same age. At that time, there was not such thing as laughing as far as I knew, but I found this book and I traveled into that, and that actually did a lot for me at that point. So the summer camp was my giving her the book of the end of the story. Hopefully we'll keep going. So, on my journey to learn more, I just kept stumbling upon words I did not understand anything of. Everybody I talked to, and they should supposedly be some of the key persons that knows a lot. I know now, I did not know then. But nobody who I asked, they all said something different. They also used different words for the same things. And every time I said, but I don't understand, because Klaus said this, Andreas said that, Monica says this, and everybody said, yeah, but they're wrong. So, just to give you a sense, I don't know half those words. 2 handfuls I learned yesterday. But I'm kind of getting the grasp of this is actually only developing. I thought it was, I'm an academic myself, I'm doing some research, and that was why my first interest would be the definitions. Well, so far I learned that you should just ask some people, because they will love to share with you. They will also have the competences of knowing and would love to explain. Then ask 2 other persons, and you will get 3 different stories. Definitions, you will need them, otherwise you don't get anything what people are talking about. I remember a lot of incidences where I have not, since I started school, felt so not knowing anything. And I have, not for 20 years, actually been in so many situations where I tried to contribute to a dialogue and saying so many stupid things, using the words in the wrong way. So, definitions you will need, the language you definitely need, but when you find them, you will have to know that they are for discussion. Whoops. Anyways, jump in. It's immensely scary, but I only experience every time I fall. But there are actually amazingly loving people here that will say you, even if you don't know them. Every time going to a lab, and I've done a few now, I've actually done more conferences like this, I think, if you count in hours, than I've actually been LARPing, but I'm catching up on that. But I always play with people I don't know. I met a lot of new friends. Every time they played me some good balls in the air. My head was empty. I had no idea how to play this game. How would you like your character to express this and this and this? I have no clue. But I started just looking out the eyes, going in the back, looking at what all these cool people did that's been laughing for 10 and 20 years. I said, okay, something like that, and okay, I will just roll with it. Thank you. And I found that when I grabbed those balls, they started rolling for me. And every time everybody would say to me afterwards, well, you did contribute to the game, but I still don't understand how. I used to think, well, I think I am a quite brave woman. But for now, it's kind of like being a novice of everything. I'm scared of being here today. I have done this professionally for 15 years, but I've not been this nervous the last 15 years. I don't know my audience, and I have no clue of what I'm talking about. But for this title of the talk, I don't think that's the biggest problem. Be brave. It might scare the beep out of you, but it's worth it. Every time I go somewhere and I know I don't know anybody, I leave thinking, I'm so happy I did this, and I can't believe it's so scary. And then I get scared again next time I have to go, but then I will have one friend there. When I tried to be a researcher, I went on social media, because I wanted to know about all these unwritten rules of the social life. These immensely clever geeks that was just impressing me over and over again. How were they talking? How geeky should I actually be before I actually contributed to anything going on? So I've been spending the last 8 months, just actually without you people knowing, watching all the Facebook debates I could actually see. So I have quite a few friends in the environment now, and I would have been reading the dialogues of everything about laughing and anything else on your walls. One thing I noticed was that, for sure, I'm definitely not gonna say anything on Facebook. With the fright of getting hit by a shitstorm. I'm impressed of how good people are at sharing, how often I see a status go like, oh, amazing article. It's never just shared, it's commented. There's a very clever thought about why I will share this. Then you will see 10, 15 comments going like, oh, awesome, and I think this, and we can use it for that, and then we'll go on like that. But the 16th comment would be like, you totally misunderstood the article. And then the rest of the 115 comments would be around, you cannot say that, I don't agree with that, and then it goes on. So I stopped reading the last ones, I just skimmed them, because it scares me. It's really, yeah, it scares me. So, think twice before you comment. I cannot say from personal experience that you will be hit by a shitstorm, but the probability is pretty high, I think. If you do, be prepared to follow up with a massive name-dropping list afterwards. I'm a wannabe organizer. I have really tried to push in everywhere. Can I help? Can I carry your stuff? Can I do something? I've been organizing events, not all of them as big as Knudepunkt, but I have done some. I've done some organizational development for non-profit organizations. And in that sense, and I'm working with competence development and teamwork, and I feel like I have something to contribute with. But every time I say that, people are going like, awesome, do something. It's going like, yeah, but that's scary, I'm not just going to do something. The first thing I thought about was, okay, everybody else is writing a scenario, so I just have to learn to write a scenario. Then I learned that it's not going to happen for the first 10 years. It scares the shit out of me. But I did know that every time people ask me, okay, what can you actually do? And I tell them just shortly what I actually can do. Then they go like, oh wow, what have you done? I said, I've done this and this and this. Yeah, but in the lab environment, where have you been doing these things? I said, well, I actually just started, so no, I have not. And then I'll go like, oh, awesome. Well, you do something, it sounds great, just do it. Okay, so I'll make my own knudepunkt? No, I don't think so. So I'm trying to figure out, to push in even more, to get some large stamps on my competences on my CV. So I maybe would get a phone call next time somebody needs a co-organizer for something. Who knows? Might happen. In my professional life, I work with a lot of the things that they are talking about in this environment already. I did not know it was LARPing, or LARPs, or whatever you call it, with a capital letter or not. But I know from the development work I've done that I recognize the same things happening. Now, looking at my niece, looking at all the other children, and looking at myself and the story I have lived for the last 8 months, I can only say that maybe not for all, but quite many more than you actually think, what you do can be life-changing by including them. There's no doubt that my niece's life changes, so she will have other opportunities that she would if she did not LARP or attend the environment. Well, I'm 30-ish, and exactly the same thing happened to me. My life changed dramatically 8 months ago to now, and I'm just totally excited about this hopefully never-ending story of the travel into this LARP environment. Be careful. It is immensely addictive. When I attended my first con, I was sitting at home on Monday, because luckily enough I took the day off. That was not on purpose, but I would never do anything else with my experience now. I was sitting looking at Facebook, going like, these all amazing people, it's all gone, my life is without color, what am I going to do, who am I going to talk to, I feel miserable, I just want to go back, I don't want to be in real life, and all these things. And I made a status on my private Facebook about feeling very blue, and I was there having a post-con depression or whatever. I don't even know if it's a word. I actually said that in brackets. And then it took only 5 minutes, and I just started getting comments going like, well, it actually is a word. And here's a link for an article about it. So, oh, awesome, and I read it. And while I was reading that article about it, I went back to my Facebook, and 10 other people were like, oh, you're not alone, and we all do that. And I started commenting on, well, that's nice to know, because I thought I was only 30-ish and having no good friends and having a miserable life. And everybody says, no, we do too, you are not alone. So my BluesCon actually got confirmed by knowing that I was not alone. So feeling so alone, not being alone, was an amazing feeling, and I just couldn't wait to get back. It is addictive. No reason for you to attend rehab though. The only solution, unless you want to change your life back, is to attend more labs and more conferences. That's the easiest way to get over that confused feeling. What really triggered me when I got into this environment is the massive competence mass I found. I'm kind of like, in a picture, it feels like the energy is just electric around me when I pass around this place. No matter who I talk to, they are immensely clever and very skillful at what they do. I noticed that sometimes it only takes an hour and a lot of beers, and then things happen. Sometimes you don't hear anything, and suddenly you have viral stuff going on. A lot of times I hear about stuff where I was not attending. I should have been there. But what I also noticed, and that's from my professional view, and I won't go into my CV, that's not relevant, but I work a lot in competence development, and I just thought if you could get in Denmark, at least, I cannot talk on the behalf of the rest of the world. It's kind of like somebody said. Well, it is the only groups of friends that are government supported in Denmark for doing cool stuff. So it seems like from the outside, a small group of friends that's doing this stuff. So it does not seem to me that there is an overall coordination between who can actually offer competences, who can help who. And I wondered, and the first thing I did, I cornered Klaus Rosted, and I told him, well, why Bifrost, the Danish organization, did not have a mentor concept for the younger people. I attended one of the conferences, and it was really obvious in the dialogue around me that people have an opinion about other people's speaker skills. And my first thought was, but you're a good one, so why don't you teach them something? And then the answer was, no, we don't do stuff like that. You know, we don't come from one place and go to the other places to let them know that we could actually make them better. Well, in some ways I understand, but I also think it's only a way of how you're actually selling it. You can do it in the Klaus Rosted way and go viral, and you can let people come to you. For me, it's kind of the same, but two different ways. So with the story of my niece in mind, what I see actually happens with me and the other adult people I talk, the other newcomers I see. I really, really hope, and please don't misunderstand me when I use the words elephants, but I really hope that the elephants of the environments and the elephants are the immensely skillful, experienced people around in all those things going on, that you know how big a power you have by putting up a like for a newbies event on Facebook. It can make it or break it. Also, how you can I don't know how much you actually think about using it consciously, but I believe that there's a huge value in if you would actually do that. Now, you are immensely busy. Most people in this environment are. And I'm always told I can only ask people. I also told you to do that. But they are so busy that I actually don't contact them most of the times, because why would they use their valuable time talking to me? A lot of the other organizers say that comments like, well, you know, you shouldn't feel like you're feeling, and you should be sure you are definitely contributing, and no, well, I'm new too. I said, okay, how long have you been laughing? 10 years. I said, oh shit, that's a long way not to be new anymore. But all of what I see everybody's doing is just amazing. And still I get told that everybody thinks that everybody else is more amazing. So, you know, and in that sense, I'm kind of like, it would be, from my experience, please just believe in what you're doing. Believe in what you can do for the other younger people. I would never be offended if somebody with experience would actually help me with anything. But also believe in yourself if you actually want to contribute. It might not be obvious where to do it. I'm still looking out to actually where I can put in some energy in my hands and time. But I'm getting closer. Let's see. The massive competence mass, I would love to work with that. Could you do a time bank? Could you make a mentor or some kind of network? Can you make a database going like, I have these skills, I need this help, can anybody help me? Or I want to be an organizer. Can I contribute anywhere? Is there a project that actually needs hands? I would love to run a LARP. I'm never going to write it myself. Is there any of you amazing writers who actually have a lot in your drawer that would actually give me a scenario that I could play? And if you could actually structure that, not in one country, but actually in an international country, internationally, especially inspired by what I see at Knudpunkt. So that leads me to where I'm actually curious, and I've been talking to heaps of lot of people. Well, I learned so far since yesterday that you should just attend Knudepunkt, and a lot of your questions will actually be answered, and you will know a lot more. But I'm very curious of what competences in the sense of not the LARPing, the writing, but the organization, the what I would call generic competences, how we can better make them visible, and how we can and which of them we actually don't see and recognize, and why we don't. Because I know when people do a LARP, they will go like, oh, we need somebody who can cook. And they don't think twice about actually buying outside cooks to come and make the food. I don't know, but I guess they actually asked the people they knew. But in that sense, it's not. But the same happens to organizing. The same happens to logistics, you know. And in that sense, what are we not seeing we can actually bring into the game? I will not be writing a scenario, I will not be running a LARP. I am not a very skillful LARPer yet, but maybe I could actually contribute in a lot of other ways. The next step is, how can we be more inclusive towards those skills that is learned outside? I've been thinking about, where do I actually go without sounding better knowing and saying, well, I normally don't get so nervous, and I actually have experience about making speeches, teaching, talking in front of people, and if anybody is uncomfortable with that, could we not make a LARP? Well, I will probably try to do it through LARPing, but could we make a Saturday that is not about LARPing, but is actually educational about how you can be a better speaker? I mean, that's just one idea. I know there's a lot of other ideas when I talk to people around. I just never heard about it. And I have no clue where to get an overview of what people are actually talking about in that sense. So is there any way you could share those ideas or anything like that? I know there are forums, some of them I'm in, some of them I'm half in, and some of them I'm not in. And so I often see a conversation going like, taken from another forum, taken from another thread, and then they put it somewhere else. But I have no chance to find the other part of the conversation. That is fine, it's like that. But could it be easier for someone like me to find out where to go to find those conversations? My wish, just in a dream world, because it will not be possible, I know so far, would be amazing having a web page, only one page with one button saying that you want to know all, push here. I don't think that's possible. But I would love to hear what your thoughts would be about that, what have actually been done, going on, where I can go. And that's also why I would like to stop talking now and asking you what you're thinking. And also afterwards, if there are any consensus about it being, if anybody would have time doing a co-creation, actually sharing real ideas that we might can share, start on, or just present somewhere else. Yeah. Before I go there, I would like, I'm so lucky I have a really good example here, and I will let Liv present herself and her idea, just because that's one of the things I was thinking about, and I was talking to Liv today, and I didn't even know that she was actually working on this, and I actually know Liv. So that surprised me very much, but she would love to share, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. Hi, my name is Liv, and I am kickstarting a project. I am totally stealing the LinkedIn idea, where you go in and you say, I'm professional, I can do this and this and this, and is working on a project on a separate web page where you can go in and actually search for organizers, for drivers, for cooks in the LARP community. So if you have an idea I have this great idea for a LARP, I don't know how to write characters, you can go in on this webpage, type characters, and people will pop up who know how to write characters. In the same sense, you can go and say, I have a car and way too much free time, I would love driving around for you. You go in, you make a profile, and you say, I have this competence, I can do this and this and this. So it's collective, it's easy to find, it has to be so easy to find. And it's a way to bring new people in, like Carina, who has 20 years of experience, but people are going, oh, but you haven't done anything. But she can go and say, I know this, I can do this. And it's a way to, there's also the problem of forgotten organizers, that is kind of the same thing. You can go in and say, well, I have actually done this and this and this, but no one knows. So when they search for, my competence are mainly player contact. I can go in, make a profile and say, I know how to talk to players. And if you're on a project and you don't want to talk to your players or don't have anyone who's done it before, go and search. I would be one of the people who could pop up and you could contact me and say, hey, I'm doing this, do you want to be part of it? So that is basically the project. A Google for LARPers, basically.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I was supposed to be at co-creational, but I'm really busy. But you can grab me, find me somewhere, catch me when I'm running by, and say you want to talk to me, and we'll do awesome stuff. I am poking Carina and making her talk a little bit about the project and co-creational, and drag more people in, please, because it's gonna be a tough one. But yeah, it's gonna happen.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
So, with that in mind, now I know the people here mostly. Some of you are very experienced. I'm sure you can tell me if this has been tried, failed, is underway, or is not a good idea. What do you think?